The morning sun broke over New York City with a pale golden glow, slicing through the
Okay.
towers of steel and glass before spilling softly across the stained windows of St. Augustine's Cathedral. The ancient Gothic building, with its pointed arches and towering spires, was already alive with movement. Workers bustled about, decorators hung silk drapes from marble pillars, and the scent of lilies mixed with the faint waxy smell of 100 candles being lit inside. But a few blocks away, in a quiet brownstone apartment, Victor Hale sat at the edge of his bed, wide awake. He had been awake for hours, staring at the sunlight creeping through his curtains, listening to the hum of the city waking up. Today wasn't just another morning. Today he was supposed to marry the woman he had prayed for, waited for, and promised himself to, Amelia Ross. Victor was not the type of man who wore his wealth on his sleeve. Out in the world, people thought of him as a decent, hard-working store owner who ran a chain of electronics shops around the city. Few knew that behind that humble storefront, he was the architect of a billion-dollar tech empire. He preferred it that way. Money was loud. He liked being quiet. Still, his heart pounded like a drum. He rubbed his palms together, trying to steady himself. A sudden knock broke the silence. "Vic, open up! Don't tell me you overslept on your wedding day," a cheerful voice called out. Victor smiled faintly and rose to answer. Standing at the door in a sharp navy suit was Ethan Cole, his best friend since college. Ethan's grin stretched ear to ear, but his eyes darted around the room quickly, like someone hiding nervous energy. "You look like a man about to face a firing squad," Ethan teased, stepping inside. "Relax. Today's your day." Victor chuckled softly. "Feels like a dream I don't want to wake from." "Dream? Buddy, it's reality. You're marrying Amelia Ross, the most stunning girl in this city. Half the guys at Wall Street are crying in their whiskey right now." Ethan adjusted his cufflinks and winked. "And don't forget, the Ross family is, well, the Ross family. Old money, political dynasty. You're stepping right into the lion's den." Victor frowned at the tone but shrugged it off. "I'm marrying Amelia, not her parents." Ethan smirked but didn't answer. Instead, he wandered toward the dresser where Victor's neatly laid wedding attire sat, a tailored white tuxedo with gold lining, a crimson tie, and cufflinks engraved with his initials. Ethan picked up the cufflinks and whistled. "Subtle but expensive. Just like you." Victor took them gently from his hands. "I don't need them to know how much money I have. I need them to know how much I love their daughter." Ethan studied him for a moment before forcing another grin. "You're a better man than most, Vic." Meanwhile, across town, inside the sprawling Ross mansion, Amelia Ross sat quietly in front of a grand mirror framed with roses. Her bridesmaids hovered around her, curling her hair, dabbing powder on her cheeks, pinning her veil with diamond clips. But Amelia barely moved. Her posture was perfect, her beauty undeniable, yet her eyes carried a faraway glaze. One of her bridesmaids, Claire, leaned closer. "You okay, Amelia? You're too quiet." Amelia blinked quickly, forcing a smile. "Just nerves." Claire giggled. "Every bride gets nervous. But come on, today's perfect. You're marrying Victor Hale. The guy adores you, and the cathedral looks like something out of a fairy tale. Nothing can go wrong." Amelia nodded but kept staring into the mirror. For a split second, her reflection seemed to change. Her eyes flickered. Not brown, but golden, slit-pupiled, reptilian. She gasped softly and blinked again. Gone. Just her own face. Claire didn't notice. She was too busy humming. The heavy wooden door creaked open. Margaret Ross, Amelia's mother, stepped inside. Tall, poised, draped in pearls and velvet, she carried herself with a queen's authority. "Darling," she said warmly, though her eyes remained sharp. "You look radiant." "Thank you, Mother," Amelia whispered. Margaret came closer, resting her hands on Amelia's shoulders. "Remember what I told you," she murmured. "Today must go smoothly. No mistakes." "Yes, Mother." Margaret's gaze lingered on her daughter's veil. A faint tremor ran through her fingers before she released Amelia and turned toward the bridesmaids. "Leave us. I need a moment with my daughter." The bridesmaids obeyed, filing out. Once the door shut, Margaret bent close again. "Do not falter, Amelia. You know what's at stake." Amelia swallowed hard, tears threatening to spill. "Mother, sometimes I feel like something is inside me." Margaret's eyes hardened. "Hush, don't speak nonsense." Just smile, walk down that aisle, and everything will be fine. But even as she said it, her jaw tightened. She remembered the river, the night she whispered Amelia's name into the water, the deal she had struck when desperation crushed her. And she wondered if today was the day the river came to collect. Back at St. Augustine's Cathedral, Pastor Gabriel Ayers knelt alone in his office. He had officiated countless weddings, seen nervous grooms and radiant brides, but something about this one gnawed at his spirit. He prayed softly, "Lord, let your peace cover this day. Let no shadow touch this union." A silence pressed heavy on his chest. His heart skipped, beating harder. He placed a hand over it, uneasy. Then in the stillness, he heard it, not in his ears, but in his spirit. "Watch closely. Something is hidden." Pastor Gabriel's eyes snapped open. He rose slowly, gripping his Bible tighter. From his window, he could see the arriving guests, men in tailored suits, women in glittering gowns, paparazzi cameras flashing. It all looked perfect, but perfection, he knew, often hid rot beneath. By late morning, the cathedral's bells rang across the city, calling everyone inside. The aisles were draped in silk, the air heavy with roses and candlelight. Guests whispered, laughed, and took selfies. But a few shifted uncomfortably, fanning themselves as though the air had grown too thick. Victor and Ethan stepped out of a black limousine. Cheers and camera flashes exploded around them. Victor smiled politely, shook hands, hugged his mother, but inside his chest still hammered. "Ready?" Ethan whispered. Victor nodded, though the knot in his stomach tightened. "Let's do this." And as he walked toward the grand cathedral doors, he never noticed the little girl. She was clutching her mother's hand at the steps. She tugged and pointed toward Amelia's waiting car. "Mommy," the girl whispered, eyes wide. "Her eyes. They look like a snake." Her mother hushed her quickly. "Stop that. Don't say such things in public." But the girl kept staring, trembling, as the world prepared to celebrate a wedding that was about to turn into war. The cathedral bells echoed down Fifth Avenue as black cars lined up one after another. Out stepped women wrapped in shimmering gowns, their diamonds flashing brighter than the camera lights. Men adjusted their ties, fixing their jackets like they were walking into a boardroom instead of a wedding. The Ross family had invited half the city's elite, and they were determined to show it. Inside, the pews filled quickly. Whisper after whisper passed through the marble hall. "Ross girl is marrying that shop owner?" one woman murmured, fanning herself. "They say he runs a small chain of electronics stores," another added, rolling her eyes. "Hardly worthy of the Ross name." "But he's handsome," someone whispered back, "and she seems to love him." "Love doesn't keep a legacy alive," the first woman scoffed. Victor's mother sat quietly in the second row, her hands folded in her lap. She wore no diamonds, no silk, only a simple navy dress. While the others gossiped, she whispered a prayer under her breath. Then she smiled faintly, as if she knew something the rest of them never would. Back in the sacristy, Pastor Gabriel knelt again, sweat forming at his temple. He tried to shake it off, but the unease grew heavier. His lips moved quickly, his voice low. "Lord, uncover what's hidden. Don't let this day be stolen." The air shifted around him, and a candle beside the Bible flickered violently, though no wind touched it. He paused, staring at the flame. Then he heard it again inside his chest. "Do not be distracted. Watch closely." He rose slowly, heart pounding harder than the cathedral bells. At the same time, Victor and Ethan waited near the entryway with the groomsmen. Victor smiled politely when guests approached, but his fingers tapped restlessly against his thigh. He tried to laugh at Ethan's jokes, but his eyes kept drifting to the cathedral doors. "Breathe, man," Ethan said, nudging him. "She's going to walk down that aisle in a few minutes. You'll forget all your nerves." Victor forced a grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Feels like the room is getting heavier." "Cold feet," Ethan shrugged. "Happens to everybody." But it wasn't cold feet. Victor couldn't explain it, but something pressed down on him. It was the same way storms announce themselves hours before the clouds gather. Suddenly, a thud echoed in the cathedral. A woman in a pale dress near the middle row collapsed onto the floor. Her husband shouted. Ushers rushed over. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Too much perfume," someone joked nervously. "Or the heat," another offered. Yet when they lifted her, her face was streaked with tears she couldn't explain. She kept repeating one word under her breath, too soft for most to hear. No, no, no. The organist struck a chord to cover the disruption, but the sound bounced against the cathedral walls like a nervous laugh in the wrong moment. Victor's chest tightened again. He turned toward Ethan. Tell me you felt that. Ethan looked away, his jaw tight. It's nothing. Focus on Amelia. But Victor wasn't convinced. He glanced toward the pulpit where Pastor Gabriel now stood, his Bible clutched tight. Their eyes met for just a second, and Victor realized the pastor felt it too. Something wasn't right. The wedding hadn't even started, yet shadows were already circling. And though no one dared say it aloud, everyone could feel it. The air inside the cathedral was too heavy, too sharp, like the whole building was holding its breath. The organ strikes and the cathedral breathes. Pipes roar from the loft, one great wave that rolls under stone ribs and colored glass and lands at the doors like thunder waiting to be let in. People rise as the ushers move down the aisle. Every eye turns toward the open narthex where light pools in gold. Then her silhouette appears. Sound loosens into a low tide of awe. A few gasps pop like bubbles in a flute of champagne, then vanish. Even the ushers slow. A ring bearer forgets to breathe until his sister elbows him, and the boy lets out a squeak. Amelia stands with her father on the threshold, veil bright as frost under the noon sun. Charles offers his arm. He stands rigid, chin lifted. She takes that arm, light as a feather, and for one heartbeat she does not move at all. The organ holds a chord. The air seems to tighten, as if the building is drawing breath with her. Step! Her gown answers with a soft ocean hush. Lace glides over stone. Petals shift under her heels. The smell of lilies climbs, sweet and heavy, almost dizzying. Charles measures his stride like a ruler, but Amelia's pace is a fraction slow, as if something presses on her ankles, as if the aisle has lengthened. Whispers rise like steam. Look at that veil. Couture, no doubt. Those stones on her tiara. Real? Someone clears a throat. Somewhere near the middle rows, a little girl grips her mother's wrist and does not blink. The organ swells. Rose light spills across Amelia's dress, then slides away. She keeps her chin steady. Beneath the veil, her mouth stays aligned. Charles squeezes her hand once, quick, the way a man checks a pulse and hopes the number is good. The nearer they come, the softer the room gets. Footsteps quiet. Jewelry stops chiming. Even the candles hold still, wicks thin as needles. Victor stands at the altar with his breath stuck halfway in his chest. He lifts his eyes, lowers them, lifts them again, like a man on a ledge. He sees her. He feels the distance behave like a living thing. They pass the first pews. An aunt dabs her eyes. A cousin mouths, finally. Two society women lean together, pearls clacking. She married down, one breathes. Or maybe he climbed up, the other answers. Still, the Ross legacy. Money can't buy that. The words melt when Amelia glances their way. They don't know why they look at the floor, but they do. At halfway, the hush sharpens. It rides the organ tone, thin and high. Amelia's veil trembles when no wind moves. Charles looks straight ahead, jaw locked. The little girl keeps staring. Mom, she whispers finally, her eyes. Hush. They're not now. Pastor Gabriel steps down from the second stair of the chancel, Bible in one hand, the other open. He should be calm, but his fingers tremble and he hides them in the fold of his robe. The air around the altar feels colder. Amelia reaches the rail. Charles lets go, then takes her hand again, as if he changed his mind and wants another second. He kisses the gauze and gives her to the aisle, and the man waiting. He does not look at Victor. He looks at the cross. Welcome, Pastor Gabriel says, voice warm enough to thaw the edge. Family, friends. The sound scatters into the dome and comes back softer. He lifts his right hand toward Amelia's shoulder. His palm hovers for a breath. When he touches the silk, his whole arm snaps with a sting like ice water poured down a sleeve. He does not pull back. He squeezes gentle. May peace rest on you, he says. Victor hears every vowel, every quiet. He also hears a faint hiss like steam. He looks at Amelia's hands. They are steady, but the bouquet trembles. Are you okay? He mouths. She barely nods. Her chin shifts the width of a hair. Pastor Gabriel lowers his hand, then meets her gaze through the veil. The veil is thin. The eye looks too clear. For a blink, the brown fades. Gold pools in each iris, bright as a struck match, and a dark slit draws down the center where a round pupil should be. It hangs long enough for a man to doubt his soul. Then it is gone. Brown again, clear, human, polite. The pastor wets his lip. He folds his hand tighter around the Bible. His wrist prickles. He feels the old ache at the base of his skull, the one that comes before a stalled storm. A murmur stirs the front rows. "Did you see?" "No, I didn't. It was the light." It was nothing. The organist dips to a quieter hymn, as if a whisper could make a wave lie down. Victor leans a fraction forward. "Amelia." His voice barely crosses the air. "We're okay." The words hang between them like breath in cold air. He wants to lift a corner of her veil, but this is not the moment. The moment waits, heavy as thunder that will not break. Pastor Gabriel takes one step back and breathes through his nose. He scans the faces. The mother gripping a clutch too tight, the father standing like a monument, the best friend with a jaw clenched to a line, the little girl whose eyes are wider than the crystal votives. Then he looks at the bride again and knows what he knows, like a doctor reading a wound or a pilot hearing a failing engine. He turns a page in his Bible. Thin paper rasps like dry leaves. He glances up. He decides. This will not be handled by smiles. He lifts his head so his voice reaches the back pews. "We welcome you," he says. "We stand before God, who made covenant and keeps covenant. A wedding is joy, but joy is not blind." His thumb taps the leather. A breath moves down the aisle. It should be a draft, but the doors are closed. The candles do not flicker. Yet something passes, cool and careful, like a hand gliding above every head. Victor feels it touch the top of his scalp and slide to his shoulders. He sets his feet the way he does before a hard climb in an unfamiliar city. He thinks about the promise he made alone in his kitchen, the one where he said he would stand, no matter who stood with him. Amelia does not sway. She is a statue that breathes. Behind the veil, her mouth softens, a small smile lifts, then falls. He looks left and right. The choir has gone, mouths half open, waiting for a cue that does not come. In the transept, a tourist stares through a rope and crosses himself twice, though he does not know why. Pastor Gabriel looks to the cross, then to the bride. Under his breath, where only God might hear, he speaks what the day will not let him avoid. "This is not just a wedding," he says. "This is war." Victor faced Amelia, his palms damp though he held them steady. The cathedral air was thick, like every sound had to push through water to reach him. Pastor Gabriel looked from one to the other, his voice solemn but steady. "Victor Hale, do you take this woman, Amelia Ross, to be your lawfully wedded wife? To love her, honor her, and cherish her for as long as you both shall live?" Victor inhaled slowly, the way he did before signing his first contract years ago. His lips parted. His voice came out clear, unshaken. "I do." It rang in the hall like a bell. No hesitation, no doubt. His mother dabbed at her eyes. Someone in the back clapped once, then hushed himself. Victor's chest loosened a fraction. He had spoken the words, and he meant everyone. Now the eyes of the cathedral turned toward Amelia. Pastor Gabriel's voice dropped a note softer. "Amelia Ross, do you take this man, Victor Hale, to be your husband? To love him, honor him, and cherish him for as long as you both shall live?" Silence. Her veil glowed under the candlelight. Her bouquet trembled faintly. Victor shifted, whispering, "Amelia?" She didn't answer. Seconds dragged, each longer than the last. People leaned forward, murmuring. Pastor Gabriel repeated the vow, slower this time. "Amelia Ross, do you take this man?" Her lips moved. At first nothing came. Then a sound rose, deep and strange, as though spoken through someone else. "Yes." The voice was low, hollow, mechanical. It crawled over the stone floor, scraping every ear. Victor blinked hard. That wasn't her voice. The congregation stirred. "She's nervous," someone whispered. "Stage fright." But Pastor Gabriel's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, his Bible tight in one hand. His breath caught. He knew what he had seen earlier, and this was not the time to ignore it. "Lift her veil," he said quietly. Victor froze. "Now?" The pastor's tone sharpened. "Lift it." Gasps rustled through the pews. Tradition was being broken. Veils were lifted after the blessing, not before. But Pastor Gabriel didn't blink. Victor swallowed hard. His fingers reached up. He hesitated. Amelia didn't move. Slowly, carefully, he pinched the edge of the veil and lifted it over her head. The fabric slid back. Her face appeared, and the room went silent. Amelia's skin was flawless, her lips soft, but her eyes, they glowed. Yellow, slitted, reptilian. Victor staggered back one step. A scream broke from the left pew, another from the back. Someone shouted, "Jesus Christ!" The organ cut off mid-note. Candles flickered. A baby wailed. Amelia didn't flinch. She stood still, eyes locked forward, bright as a predator in the dark. Guests scrambled, skirts rustling, chairs scraping. One man fell over a pew trying to back away. A woman clutched her rosary, shaking. Victor's hands trembled. "Amelia, your eyes." She turned her head slowly toward him, and then she smiled. A cold, thin smile that never touched those eyes. "Victor," she whispered, voice low and steady, "you are already mine." The smile on Amelia's face did not fade. It stretched wider, too wide until her cheeks trembled with the strain. Then her body jerked once, sharp as a whip. The bouquet fell from her hands. Stems cracked on the stone. She bent forward, arms stiff, then dropped to her knees. Her fingers scraped the aisle, nails leaving white marks across polished marble. A sound slipped from her throat. Not a scream, not a cry. Something low, vibrating, animal. Then she moved. Her gown dragged behind her as she crawled, not clumsy, not human, but smooth. Her hips swayed, her shoulders shifted like scales under skin. The veil tore loose, floating down. Gasps burst through the crowd. Children screamed. "God have mercy," someone whispered, and the words vanished into the roar of panic. Guests rushed toward the exits. Heels cracked against marble. A man tripped, pulling his wife down with him. Two ushers tried to help, but when they reached Amelia, they froze. One touched her shoulder and collapsed instantly, limp as a rag. The other fell to his knees, shaking. Victor stood frozen at the altar, heart pounding, unable to breathe. "Amelia!" His voice cracked, desperate, but she didn't look back. Her hands clawed the stone as her body writhed forward, her eyes burning brighter with every inch. Pastor Gabriel slammed his Bible against the pulpit. His voice thundered over the chaos. "Stand, pray!" Some guests stopped, their voices shaky. "Lord, help us! Lord, save her!" The cathedral rattled, the stained glass vibrating in their frames. The organ pipes moaned without a hand touching them. Amelia's head snapped upward. Her lips opened, and the sound that poured out was not hers. "She was promised." The voice shook the rafters. Deeper than thunder, older than bone. Gasps ricocheted through the hall. "Promised?" someone cried. The voice laughed, hollow and cruel. "By her mother, long ago." All eyes whipped toward Margaret Ross. She stood stiff near the front pew, pearls shaking at her throat, her face drained of blood. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. The spirit roared through Amelia's mouth. "You gave her to me, at the river, for wealth, for power." Margaret staggered back, clutching the bench. I only wanted to save us." Charles spun toward her, his voice like fire. "What have you done?" Margaret's knees buckled. She fell hard against the pew, clutching the wood as sobs ripped from her chest. "I went to the water. I called her name. I thought it was just a ritual, a story. I didn't know it was real." The spirit hissed, long and sharp. Amelia's body lifted from the floor, her arms dangling like ropes, her head hanging back. Her eyes blazed across the cathedral. "This wedding ends now." Victor dropped to his knees on the cold stone, his hands stretched toward Amelia's twisting body. His chest heaved like he had been running for miles, but his voice still broke through the panic. "Don't take her," he begged. "Take me instead." His words echoed under the high arches. The crowd hushed for one stunned breath. Even Margaret lifted her face, streaked with tears at the sound of it. Amelia's head turned toward him. The spirit inside her laughed, a sound too deep for her throat, too ancient for her age. The kind of laugh that made the candles flicker and the choir shrink back. "Take you?" the voice mocked. "Your love is sweet, but your blood is not enough." Victor's hands clenched. "Then take all of it. Take my life, but leave her free." The spirit's hiss rattled the glass windows. "Fool, do you not see? She is mine already. She was sealed before you were born." Victor slammed his palm against the stone. "I don't care. I choose her. I choose her now. I'll choose her tomorrow. I'll choose her forever." His throat burned, but the words poured like fire. The air shook with a roar. Amelia's body arched higher, her veil whipping like it was caught in a storm. The spirit spat out, "Your vow cannot break a covenant written in blood." At that moment, Pastor Gabriel stepped forward. His robes swayed, though no wind moved. He slammed his Bible shut with a clap like thunder. "Church," he shouted, his voice shaking the rafters. "Do not sit in fear. Stand. Lift your voices. Pray now." A dozen people hesitated, then rose, their voices cracked. "Lord, have mercy. Lord, deliver her." The pastor raised his hand higher. "Louder." The cathedral filled with sound. Men groaned. Women cried. Children clasped their hands tight. The words rose together, rough and untrained but fierce. The stained glass rattled. The marble floor trembled. Dust rained from the chandeliers. The spirit shrieked through Amelia, thrashing her body against the air. "Stop!" But the prayers kept rising. Pastor Gabriel walked closer, his voice cutting through the noise. "By the blood that was shed, by the cross that still stands, no curse has the final word." The spirit screamed again, sharper. Victor knelt lower, tears streaking his face. His lips moved with the crowd. "Free her! Free her! Free her!" Through the roar, another sound bled in. Quiet at first, then sharper. Ethan's voice. He stood near the groomsman, his fists pressed against his temples, his face pale as chalk. His lips trembled. "I knew it," he whispered. "I knew this day would come." No one around him noticed. The thunder of prayer drowned almost everything. But his words slipped out again, louder this time, breaking through. "I should have told you, Victor. I should have told you." Margaret clutched the edge of the pew as though it could keep her upright, but her strength gave way. She slid to her knees, her pearls snapping loose and scattering across the floor. Her voice broke, thin and raw. "I went to the water," she cried. "I begged for help. We had nothing. Your father had lost everything. People mocked us. She gagged on the words and pressed her palm to her chest. "I called the goddess by name. I offered Amelia." The cathedral gasped. A ripple of horror traveled through the guests. Some covered their mouths. Others whispered prayers under their breath. Victor froze where he knelt. His eyes widened. His pulse rattled in his ears. He looked at Amelia, her body jerking under the spirit's grip, then back at Margaret. "You did this?" His voice cracked with disbelief. Margaret sobbed louder. "I only wanted to save us. They promised she would live like a queen, that she'd never suffer as I did. I thought it was just tradition. I didn't think it was real." Pastor Gabriel's face hardened. "You made a covenant. Spirits never forget." Charles's face turned red, his jaw trembling with rage. He stepped forward, pointing a shaking finger at his wife. "You cursed our child for vanity?" His voice thundered against the stone. Margaret shrank back. "I did it for us, for you. For me?" Charles's laugh was bitter, sharp. "You damned our daughter to darkness so I could hold my head high in front of men? You let her grow with chains around her soul?" Margaret's tears ran black with her mascara. "I didn't know. I thought it would fade." "Fade!" Charles shouted. He slammed his fist against the rail so hard the wood cracked. "Look at her! Look at what you've done!" The spirit hissed through Amelia's lips, mocking. "Yes, look. She is mine because her own mother gave her away." Ethan stumbled forward then, his face pale, sweat slick on his forehead. He looked at Victor, then at Amelia. His lips trembled before he spoke. "I knew," he whispered. His voice was barely audible, but the silence that fell made every word land like iron. "I knew about the covenant." Victor's head snapped toward him. "What?" Ethan's hand shook. I heard the stories years ago. I thought they were rumors. But then I saw things. Strange things. I... I should have told you. Victor's stomach dropped, his throat closing in on itself. You knew, and you said nothing? Ethan's eyes darted away, shame burning in his face. I loved her too, Victor. I thought, if the truth came out, maybe you'd walk away. And maybe she'd turn to me. The words landed like a blade. Victor's chest caved, air rushing out in a ragged breath. He felt the sting of betrayal, sharp and cold, from the one man he trusted most. You were my brother, Victor whispered, and you let me walk blind into this? Ethan couldn't answer. His shoulders hunched as if the weight of guilt might crush him right there. The spirit inside Amelia howled, a sound so piercing that the stained glass windows shivered in their frames. Her body jolted upward like a puppet on invisible strings. Her arms flung wide, her head snapped back, and her voice tore out, deeper and darker than before. Blood for blood, it shrieked. The vow was sealed. Payment must be made. The chandeliers rattled, raining dust over the guests. People dropped to their knees, covering their ears. Some clutched the pews, others cried out, their voices lost in the roar. Amelia's gown shredded at the hem as her body rose higher, feet leaving the floor. The silk whipped around her like it was caught in a storm no one else could feel. Her eyes blazed yellow, brighter than fire, pupils slitted like knives. Her mouth twisted into a smile that wasn't hers. She was promised to me. You cannot break what was written in her blood. Pastor Gabriel planted himself in the center of the aisle, his robe whipping though no wind moved. He raised his Bible high and shouted over the chaos. You lie. The blood that was shed on the cross has already paid every debt. His words boomed through the cathedral. Thunder cracked outside as though heaven itself had answered. The walls trembled. The organ pipes groaned. Amelia screamed through the spirit, her body contorted, back arched, arms stiff. You cannot take her from me. Gabriel's voice grew louder, steadier. There is no covenant stronger than the blood of Jesus, no chain stronger than his cross. Release her. The crowd echoed him. Release her! Release her! Victor stumbled forward, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He stood just beneath Amelia's floating body, his arms stretched up as though he could pull her down by sheer will. Amelia, he shouted, tears streaking his face. Look at me. It's me. I'd die for you. Her body jerked. For 1 second, her eyes flickered brown. Her lips trembled. The spirit hissed, twisting her head violently. Foolish boy, you cannot save her. Victor planted his feet, his chest heaving. Then take me, take all of me. But you will not take her. The spirit roared in laughter, cruel and sharp. You would trade your life? Do you even know who you are? The cathedral went silent, the words dropping like stone. You are not just a man, the voice spat. You are hail. Your bloodline destroyed me once. Your family cut down my altars, burned my shrines, drove me into the depths. And now you dare to stand in front of me again? Gasps filled the air. Victor's head spun. He had never heard those words. His father had died when he was a boy. His mother never spoke of their past. Pastor Gabriel's eyes widened. So it is true. The Hales once broke her hold on this city. That is why she seeks revenge. The spirit hissed, her body snapping forward like a snake striking. I will have my vengeance. Blood for blood. Victor didn't move. He spread his arms wide, shielding Amelia even as her body lashed with the spirit's rage. Then take me, he cried, but leave her free. The ground shook. Thunder roared again. The battle had reached its breaking point. The spirit writhed inside Amelia, twisting her body like a flag in a storm. Her voice split, one moment deep and cruel, the next her own, crying out. Pastor Gabriel lifted the oil high, his voice booming above the terror. Church, pray! Break the covenant now! The congregation surged to its feet. Hands lifted. Voices rose, trembling but fierce. Lord, break every chain, end every curse, set her free. Margaret dropped to her knees, sobbing. I renounce it. I break the vow I made. Her voice cracked as she clawed at the stone floor. She is not yours. She belongs to God. Charles stepped forward, his voice hoarse. I stand as her father. No spirit has claim over my child. In Jesus' name, release her." The spirit shrieked through Amelia, her head whipping side to side, hair flying. Smoke curled from her skin, gray and sharp, filling the air with the smell of burning copper. Victor gripped her hand though her body twisted violently. "Hold on, Amelia! I'm here!" The spirit screamed louder, rattling the rafters. "No! She is mine! Her blood is mine!" Gabriel thundered back, slamming his Bible shut. "No more! Your time is finished! Out!" The roar that followed shook the ground. Amelia's body convulsed once, twice, then went still. Her head dropped. Her chest did not rise. The church froze. Victor's heart tore. "No, no, please." He gathered her in his arms, her hair falling across his sleeve, her lips pale. He rocked her against him, his tears spilling hot on her face. "Don't leave me, Amelia. Please, I can't lose you." Silence pressed on the cathedral. Guests wept quietly. Some bowed their heads. Others stared, unable to move. Pastor Gabriel knelt beside them, his hands pressed against her chest. His lips moved fast, desperate, calling heaven down. "Spirit of life, breathe again. Return what was stolen. This daughter belongs to the living." Victor buried his face in her neck. "Please, please." Then, a shudder passed through her body. A gasp ripped from her lungs. Her eyes flew open, wide and brown, tears spilling fresh. She coughed, air filling her chest again. Victor cried out, half laughter, half sob. "You're back! Amelia, you're back!" Her hand lifted weakly, brushing his cheek. "Victor," she whispered, "I saw the dark, but you called me back." The church erupted, shouts of joy, clapping, sobbing. Some collapsed in prayer, others lifted their arms high. And then, as if heaven itself marked the moment, the heavy clouds split. Sunlight poured through the stained windows, flooding the cathedral in gold. Dust turned to glitter in the air. The shadows fled. The spirit was gone. Victory had come. The cathedral stood in stunned quiet. The joy of her breast return still lingered, but the air carried something heavier, an understanding that this day was scarred forever. The guests looked to Pastor Gabriel, their faces pale, their hearts trembling. He rose slowly, his robe dusted with ash, his Bible still warm in his grip. His voice carried, not with thunder this time, but with the weight of truth. "This wedding cannot continue," he said. His words fell steady, final. "The vows cannot be spoken while wounds are fresh. There must be healing first. Secrets must be laid bare. Today is not covenant, it is deliverance." No one argued, no one clapped. The church bowed its head as if agreeing without sound. Margaret crawled forward, her gown torn, her hands raw from the stone. She reached for Amelia with shaking fingers. "My child," she sobbed, "forgive me. I did this to you. I cursed your life with my fear, my vanity." Her voice cracked. "If I could trade places with you, I would." Amelia leaned against Victor's chest, her body weak, her eyes glassy. She looked at her mother for a long time before she spoke. Her lips trembled. "I forgive you," she whispered, "but forgiveness doesn't erase what was done." Tears slid down her cheeks. "You gave me away before I could even speak my own name. That wound doesn't vanish in a day." Margaret broke into fresh sobs, clutching the hem of her daughter's dress. Charles stood rigid behind them, his face carved with fury and grief. He turned his head ashamed, unable to meet his daughter's eyes. Victor helped Amelia to her feet. He steadied her with both arms, as though he feared she might slip away again. His voice was low but strong. "We don't have to rush," he told her. "We'll take time to heal, to pray, to build again. Marriage is not just a day, it's a lifetime. I'd rather wait for the right moment than bind us while shadows still linger." Amelia looked up at him, her lips quivering into the faintest smile. "You'd wait for me?" His eyes filled with tears. "I'd wait forever." The congregation exhaled as if one body. Some cried quietly, others clasped hands. Pastor Gabriel stepped forward, his eyes scanning the room, his voice calm yet unshakable. "Let this day be remembered," he said, "not for gowns or flowers, but for truth. A covenant made in secret was dragged into the light, and freedom came, but not without cost." He raised his Bible. "Parents, hear me. The choices you make in fear, the shortcuts you take in darkness, they do not end with you. They live in your children. They rise in their marriages. They speak at their altars. Silence. Only the sound of candles burning, of Amelia's soft breaths against Victor's shoulder. But know this, Gabriel continued, his eyes fierce. No curse is final. No covenant is stronger than the cross. What was bound can be broken. What was lost can be restored. And the light will always expose the truth. He closed his Bible. The people bowed their heads, and for the first time that day, the silence in the cathedral felt like peace. In the end, the vows waited, but hope didn't. Victor walked Amelia out under the stained glass glow, not as husband and wife yet, but as two people choosing truth over hurry, healing over spectacle. The cathedral kept its silence. Their future didn't. When they come back, it'll be with nothing to hide and everything to build. Now it's your turn. Rate this story from 1 to 10 in the comments and tell me the moment that hit you hardest. If this gripped you, tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. Thanks for watching.